Hi, how's it going? I'm Patrick Jaguar with Cosmic Alchemist Astrology, and welcome to today's video. So this is my September 2021 astrological forecast and analysis, general rundown for the month. FYI, I use Vedic astrology, the Vedic zodiac. So if the placement of the planets sound like they're off, like they're in the wrong signs, that's why I actually use a different zodiac. So it's 23 degrees off. Everything is 2/3 of a sign off. So it's different than the regular mainstream Western astrological zodiac. This is the older sidereal astrology, so visible sky astrology. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to the channel, who likes the videos, comments, shares the videos. It helps the channel a lot, and if you haven't done these things already, I ask you to consider doing this. People ask me on a daily basis if I've uploaded new videos. If you subscribe, YouTube will tell you every single time that I upload a new video. And the likes and the comments help the videos come up higher in the search algorithm. So yeah, thanks to everyone who's done this, and thank you to everyone else for considering if you haven't. So let's get into this. The interesting factor this month is going to ratchet up some more. We're in interesting times, so there's never a dull month, and September will not disappoint. So yeah, we start this month, just looking at the September 1st chart. We start with 5 planets in retrograde, and it's all the outer planets, what we call the social planets, the planets that rule the trends and events and developments and sort of the thinking and activities in society. They take a long time to go around. Sometimes, even generations to make a full orbit through the zodiac. So these outer planets are Jupiter, Saturn, and then Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So, and in the inner planets, from the Sun out to Mars, those are what are called the personal planets. Really, they rule your personal attributes specifically. So, yeah, we've got these five outer planets in retrograde. Then at the end of the month, we're going to have Mercury in retrograde for a total of 6 planets retrograde. And retrogrades get catastrophized in mainstream pop astrology, but really what retrogrades are is an opportunity. They're an opportunity to redo things, because it's all about going back and reviewing, correcting, and redoing things. So with these outer planets, the society planets, the social planets, we have a big opportunity to rebuild and rearrange society. But the problem is good, decent, hardworking people don't get organized. But the people and the companies in this world with the most money, with the most greed, with the most power hunger, are extremely organized. So we tend to allow ourselves to get led down the garden path. We don't know it's an opportunity to rebuild our world, and people who we've surrendered our power to do it in our name without really asking us what improvements we'd like to see. So, retrogrades are a double-edged sword, but they are a very big opportunity. So yeah, we've got those planets in retrograde. That's going to make things feel even more just kind of unstable, out of control, up in the air. It doesn't take an astrologer to tell you that. Anybody who's alive right now can tell you things are a little weird. They don't quite add up. They're very bizarre. We've got that going on, and another one of the big things this month that'll be going on all month is we have this, what's called a yod. A yod is a concept from Western astrology. It's a Hebrew letter yod, kind of looks like a Y, and it makes like a Y formation in the chart. And this yod, this finger of God, it basically like shakes the earth and kind of turns things on their head, really. Turns the world on its head. So this is going to be coming out of Virgo this month, and Virgo is the sign of health, healing, medicine, illness, physicians. It's also karma, conflicts, thinking, communication, a lot of things with Virgo. So for the world, this yod is going to be all about health, healing, struggles, conflicts, disease. And then for America, these meanings hold true, but then Virgo for America is the 10th house of government and hierarchy and officialdom. So that kind of adds another layer. So basically in this month with this yod, what this is going to do is the world of health and medicine and pharmaceuticals and healthcare, and then government for America. Because it's Virgo, it's Mercury's home. It deals with communication, and not like hyper, reality TV communication, but really thought out, organized communication. This communication is going to start out with kind of a nice, friendly tone. People in authority are going to, they're going to be telling us, get your experimental medicine, get your injection, because we love you and we care about you so much. And don't listen to anyone who tells you there's money to be made off of this. They're going to be really nice about it, and then through the month, it's going to get matter of fact, and then it's going to start getting aggressive. It's going to start out nice because you're going to have Mercury and Venus in Virgo. Mercury is going to be at 9 degrees at home in its home sign, and then Venus is going to be at 25 degrees. So Mercury is going to be in charge. Mercury is the planet of communications. And so it's going to basically use Venus. It's going to use the friendly, diplomatic tone of Venus to help it communicate and put its message out. And then through the month, Venus will move away, and it's just going to be Mercury in Virgo, and it's going to be very matter of fact. Then Mars is going to come in. Mars will be at the lower degree. Mars will be in charge. Mars is a planet of fiery energy, of dominance. It likes to win, it likes to compete, it likes to fight. So Mars is going to want to win this whole argument about health, healing, and disease and experimental injectable medicines. And it's going to use Mercury's communication skill in order to do that, Mercury's ability to think. And then Mercury's going to leave, and then you're going to have Mars there, and then the Sun's going to come in. So you're going to have these, and then the Sun is very authoritative. So you're going to have authoritative and combative energy putting out this message about health, healing, and disease. So the whole tone of these institutions is going to change from friendly to matter of fact to aggressive and even combative. So, be on the lookout for that. Most of you are fully expecting this, so it's not going to come as any surprise. And really this month, with these retrogrades, with this Mercury retrograde, with this yod, this month, September, is going to set the stage for October, and I'd say the first 3 weeks of November. And then I think something's going to happen in November, and things are going to look a little different. But it can look pretty bleak right now, because we've got cold and flu season right around the corner, and it looks like we're going to be wearing masks for the rest of our lives, and it looks like we're going to be told, wear 2 masks, wear 3 masks. Well, it's going to take 4 masks now. Don't leave your house. It's like a lot of people are expecting this. And I think September and October, and at least the first half of November, could be kind of sucky like this, but then in November, I think things are going to look a little different. So I'll get into that more a little later, but on that note, really what we have to do is we need to run out the clock on the so-called authorities. You know, when I say run out the clock, it's like a sport, it's like a basketball game, it's like a football game. You know, the clock's running, one team is ahead, and if they're careful, they don't have to do a whole lot to win. They just have to let the clock run out. A lot of people are panicking. A lot of, you know, good, decent people who love their freedom are panicking, and they feel like they're going to get it taken from them. What's actually going on here, though, is the so-called authorities in the world are actually very fucking desperate, and time is their enemy. Time is working against them. If time was on their side and they were in a position of strength, they wouldn't be humping our legs to get injected with this new experimental medicine, which is a giant open trial. They wouldn't be humping your leg about it all the time. They wouldn't be taking your privileges away, and they wouldn't be trying to bribe us with donuts, free hamburgers and fries, free milkshakes, free beer and a shot, free college tuition, multi-million-dollar lotteries. They wouldn't be doing this stuff. They wouldn't be trying to bribe us and hump our legs trying to convince us if they're in a position of strength. The last thing they want you to realize is that they are in a position of weakness. So do your best to not freak out about this. Don't think of them as all-powerful, because when you fear them, when you see them as powerful and see yourself as powerless, you're worshiping them, whether you know it or not, and you're feeding it. So you're feeding the beast. So do your best not to do that. So just run the clock down. Do what you feel is right. Don't let people guilt you. Don't let people make you feel like you're an idiot, like you're a bad person. You know, my acupuncture practice, I see people all the time who they got the shots and they regret it because they got sick and they don't feel right. They don't feel like their body's working the way it used to. Even to me, I notice people's energy doesn't come out of the body as much. It's like their energy's a lot thinner. Pretty interesting. So do what you feel is right in your heart, and that is really how the world will be won. That'll be how this struggle is won, is to just be who you really want to be in your heart, and don't let people guilt you and shame you. That's how you do it. But yeah, and another thing too, you know, about this open clinical trial, this experimental injectable medicine, for the establishment, for the hierarchies in the world, they're going to be very optimistic about it, I think, from about September 14th to November 20th. And then that optimism is going to go away in November. Why I think this is it's because Jupiter, which is in retrograde, is going to retrograde back into Capricorn, the sign of government for the whole world, and the second house of finance, wealth, money for the United States. Second house also deals with like business leaders. So Jupiter is going to go back there on September 14th, and it's going to basically make government feel like it has more power, make them feel better about their situation. It's going to prop up the economy a little bit. It'll help, you know, the big pharma companies a little bit. But then November 20th, it's going to go back into Aquarius. It's going to start heading back towards that 7th degree of Aquarius, which is the natal moon of the United States. So, yeah, it's some temporary optimism for them. So don't lose your spirits. Another thing with Jupiter going back to Capricorn is now you're going to have the squares of Mars and Jupiter back on Uranus. Uranus is science and technology, and this experimental injectable is a creature of science and technology. With Saturn square on Uranus, it limits, it's a limiting factor for the success of this experimental medicine. When you get Jupiter on it, it basically brings some optimism to the people who are trying to promote it. So yeah, it's going to be that temporary 2 months of optimism, and then Jupiter is going to move back into Aquarius, and that squared aspect is going to move off of it. So just get through these 2 months here. Run the clock down again. So yeah, let's get into the particulars of the month here. Well, one last thing for really most of the month. Let me see when Sun goes into Virgo. Sun goes into Virgo on the 16th of September. So first half of the month, we've got Sun in Leo. So Sun is almost exactly between the two nodes. The nodes of the moon being Rahu and Ketu. So anytime planets are at the middle of those nodes, it basically very fated, destined, karmic things happen. So the things happening right now, even when they're not desirable, they're not fun, even when they seem pretty sucky, it had to happen, and it's going to serve us in the end. And we also have Mars to start the month in Leo too, so that is that's kind of about fated battles and conflicts and things like that. Mars is also to start the month is exactly in a mutual aspect with Neptune, which is over in Aquarius, or in opposition is another way to say that. So basically we're being, the sign of Leo is executive figures, executive figureheads and leaders, royals. So it's basically like they're using illusions, Neptune, in order to fight, but they're also exposing themselves because Neptune is in retrograde. It's a matter of what people can perceive. So moving on from the 5th of September, and I'm going to go through most of these pretty quick because we've got a lot to cover. 5th of September, we've got Venus in Libra. So Venus is in its home sign of creativity, quality, even exchange, balance, give and take. Venus being here, Libra is the sign of, it's the original 7th house, if you put Aries in the ascendant, so it's the sign of all the other people in the world. So it deals with business, it deals with partnerships, it deals with social activity. So, just having Venus and Libra here, it's basically, we're going to get a little break here where people are pretty much mostly getting along, and that's always nice. And then things are going to get rockier as the month goes on. We get to the next day, we get to September 6th. That's the day of the new moon. That's new moon, 20 degrees of Leo. The maximum is 8:49 p.m. here on the east coast of the United States. And so yeah, Leo deals with royals, executives. It also deals with fun, fulfillment. Leo is joy. It's like finding your joy. So this is, and new moons are all about, they deal with new beginnings. They deal with basically the light of the moon darkens, the light of the moon shuts off, and we're sort of left in the dark, so our eyes can adjust and we can basically see what is really going on in our consciousness. And it's so we can start a new cycle. The new moon starts a new cycle. So this is that time of the year when summer's pretty much gone. We're going into harvest time, and we're starting to plan for, what we want in the following year. So that's something that you want to put some conscious thought into, so life just doesn't surprise you. For America, this is Leo is the ninth house of philosophy, religion, spirituality, what else, higher knowledge, things like that. So it's really a time to really find what's going to give us fulfillment by basically getting our belief systems in order, getting our knowledge in order, and really straightening out our perceptions about how we see the world and where the world's going. And again, in the opposite sign, in Aquarius, you got that retrograde Neptune. So this is either kind of like fooling people about this, or it's helping to really like wake people up and give people some wisdom. Now this is the very day on this new moon where on this very day Mars transits into Virgo. So this is going to be the day where we're going to see the message and kind of the tone and just the whole energy that's coming out of the whole health and medical system and out of government for us in America. This is where their tone turns aggressive. So the day before, on the 5th, you had Venus going into Libra. So it's like the nice, the friendliness on the 5th of September leaves, government and the whole medical establishment. And they have that kind of day of being very matter of fact, and then on the 6th, on the new moon, they get that aggression from Mars, and they're going to go from nice very quickly to very aggressive, and it's going to start getting combative. So with that happening on the day of the new moon, this is basically about, really understand what it is that is going to give you a feeling of fulfillment and a feeling of sovereignty in your own life, because this is kind of the day the antagonism kicks in. So if you don't know who you are and what you want, you can be basically led by the nose by other people, or really more importantly, led by your fear. So the next big event, Jupiter in Capricorn. This happens at about 5 a.m. here on the East Coast. So Jupiter is going to go back to Capricorn, back to the sign of government for the world, back to the house of finance, wealth, and banking for us in America. So one thing the whole world has been dealing with is the inflation that's going on. Everybody's noticing this at the gas pump, at the grocery store. Just any bigger purchases you have to make, everything's more expensive, and you're still getting paid the same amount. So that's a problem. Some economic experts are talking about hyperinflation. I think that's down the road. Not quite yet, though. With Jupiter going back into Capricorn, sign of government, sign of the establishment, house of wealth, finance, banking, money for America. This is going to basically give some new confidence, some new stability to the whole financial system. You've got Saturn and Pluto there, and they are bringing about basically a karmic restructuring, not only to government, but also to finance and money. And that is causing a lot of problems that we're facing. With Jupiter coming back, Jupiter is the giver and bestower of wealth and gifts and good fortune. So Jupiter is going to kind of smooth things over for a while, temporarily, but then it's going to station, it's going to go direct, and it's going to go back into Aquarius on November 20th. At that point, I think you're going to see a dip in the economy. Things are going to start rolling. And really in this decade, we're going to see some depressionary conditions, because Uranus hasn't been where it is since 1937. So yeah, we'll get kind of like a temporary reprieve, temporary sort of respite from Jupiter. You know, you might see the stock market go up and, you know, all that, but we're not out of the woods yet. The next day, September the 16th, Sun comes into Virgo. So again, with this Yod coming out of Virgo, with this finger of God that's shining aspects on Neptune and Aquarius and Uranus and Aries, it's working, it's using communications to work the illusions and to basically shake the earth and mix things up and, you know, turn things on its head. So with the Sun coming into Virgo, it's changing the quality of this Yod. So before the 16th, you know, from the 5th to the 16th, you've got Mars and Mercury. So that's that aggressive, you know, even bordering on abusive communication. Then you get the Sun in there. The Sun is, again, it's royalty, it's rulership, executive figures, it's leadership. The Sun on a bad day can be egotistical and just domineering and imperious. So that is gonna start coming to the table here. So before the 16th, from the 5th, 6th to the 16th, you know, this message from the whole medical science establishment, and then from government here in America, it started as nice. It went into kind of aggressive, got a little combative. Now at this point with Sun and Virgo, it's not only aggressive and combative, but it's going imperious. It's going to feel condescending. And again, we're already seeing this, but it's going to ramp up. It's going to be slinging the illusions with that Neptune. It's 6 houses away, and it's going to be turning things on its head with that Uranus that's 8 houses away. The blessing in all of this is that because Uranus and Neptune are in retrograde, they're basically exposing themselves. They're going to go too far, and they're going to piss a lot of people off. And people are going to push back, so it's definitely a blessing. And also on this very day, we have the Moon is in Capricorn. So it's with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. So, you know, it's between Saturn and Pluto. So Saturn and Pluto, that is that energy that is causing this slow overhaul of government, of finance, of authority in the world, and changing its quality. So, yeah, I think this is a day where the powers that be get more aggressive and more imperious, but then they sort of overplay their hand and they start pissing people off, and people really start thinking, you know, we need to do something about these public servants who are just walking all over us. September 20th, day of the full moon. We got a full moon in Pisces, and with that full moon in Pisces, we've got Mercury at 29 degrees of Virgo. So, you know, Pisces, that is the sign for the world. It's the original 12th house. It's the sign of secrets, of isolated places. Isolated places are hospitals. And there's certainly been a lot going on with hospitals. Even sanitariums, you know, like mental hospitals, and that's an interesting thing. The county I live in here, North Carolina, tomorrow, Tuesday the 31st, they're putting a bill to a vote where they're going to have these compliance officers who they're not police, they're basically busybody paper pushers. So like city employees and county employees. They want to deputize them as compliance officers to make sure people are wearing their masks. Inside businesses, to make sure businesses are enforcing mask wearing. And what they're proposing is that if people violate these new rules for the county, they get a warning. If they keep violating, they get fines, and if they keep violating, they can be imprisoned in a mental hospital for up to 2 years. So, don't want to go there. But yeah, it's interesting. Pisces deals with those types of isolated places, but I think really, really pertinent for Pisces for this full moon. It's dealing with the hospitals, and it's dealing with secrets, because Pisces it's things that go on kind of in remote places and isolated places, things that don't happen under the light of day, things that happen in the dark, things that are hidden, secret things. So this is the day where we have an opportunity to see secret, hidden things going on in the world. And then for America, Pisces is the fourth house of the homeland. Now the sun that is shining its full light on this full moon, it's in Virgo, and it's with Mars and Mercury. And the sun is dominating the conjunction because it's at the lowest degree. So to me, this full moon is about these secrets and these hidden things that are being done and have been done by the whole medical science hierarchy and establishment and government for America, because again, Virgo's the 10th house. So, it's not going to be, it's going to take a long time before we just have undisputed truth thrown into our lap that nobody in the world can deny. There's a high deniability factor in all of the information that's been coming out to date. So, kind of unfortunately, this is just something we have to deal with. But yeah, that full moon it's going to be about secrets, not just in the world, but, in our own personal lives. And it also marks this time of the year, it's marking the transition, towards the winter. And, this is 2 days before the solstice. So, with Pisces, this can deal with using times of isolation to really look inside yourself and really see what healing we need to do, what parts of ourselves we need to heal and to kind of to straighten out, kind of reorganize. In the winter, that half of the year is all about, we're not outdoors as much, we're not as lively, it's the time of the year where you kind of turn inward. So Pisces deals a lot with that, because Pisces deals with meditation, and just introspection, taking quiet time, because Pisces, it's outer space, but to me it's also our inner space. It's that deep unconscious. So especially in times like this, you really need to understand your unconscious emotions, your unconscious assumptions and thoughts, because if you don't understand them, people can manipulate you with your emotions and your assumptions. So this is really a time to do that. And for America, this being the fourth house of the homeland, the house of security, this can really highlight things that have been going on here at home that need to be addressed. You also have Mars looking within 5 degrees, looking at this full moon, looking into Pisces, mutual aspect. from Virgo. So this can even highlight hostility, battles, conflicts here in the homeland. What else? And then, yeah, we move on to September 22nd. That's the day of the equinox this year. And the really the strict equinox occurs at 3:21 p.m. East Coast time. And right as this happens, we're having Mercury transit into Libra. So this equinox, this is the, whether it's the vernal equinox in the spring or the autumnal equinox in the fall, this is a day of equal day and equal night. People say that equinoxes, they say that the spring equinox marks first day of spring. Fall equinox marks the first day of fall. Really, the equinoxes are mid-season points, just like the solstice. So December 21st is actually midwinter's day. June 21st is midsummer. And then September 21st or thereabouts, that's mid-fall. March 21st, March 22nd, it's mid-spring. They mark the midpoints. I don't know why people start calling those the first day, but anyway. This equinox day, it marks that it's a day of transit where we go from the summer half of the year where we have more light to the winter half of the year when we have more darkness. In the old days, in ancient times, people really just talked about the two seasons. You had summer and you had winter. It was all about, do you have more dark or more light? So this is the this marks the turning point to the dark half of the year. And to me, especially with the times we're living in, the things we're dealing with, this really highlights how we have to man up and woman up and really deal with some dark subjects, some dark feelings, some dark thoughts. We can't just get a buzz on. We can't just get stoned. We can't just go party. We can't we can't giggle the problems away that we're experiencing right now. We have to deal with them. We have to come to terms with them. So we're going into that half of the year where we have to do that. And this too, this is harvest time, so this is the time of the year where we reap what we've sown. The first half, it's the build-up. We're doing the sowing so that we can enjoy the fruits of our labors. So this is also the time of the year where you get out of the year what you put into it. So now on this day, this is the day where Mercury transits into Libra. When you get Mercury in Libra, this is Venus's sign. Interesting thing about Libra is that it deals with value, it deals with an even exchange, and it deals with balance. When planets are in Libra, when people have planets in Libra, they think a lot about balance. But because of this, they have a certain quality of imbalance, within themselves. So, when Mercury goes here for the whole world, it's like our thinking is going to take on this unbalanced quality. So it's interesting, we're going into this dark half of the year on this day of the fall autumn equinox, fall equinox. We're going into this dark half of the year with kind of this like ambivalent sort of a mindset where we're like, well, on the one hand, but then on the other hand, it's going to be tough for a lot of people to kind of make their minds up and to stick to their guns, because they're not going to really, it's like they're not going to know what it is that they want and who it is that they want to be. So as far as like, the halves of the years ago, in the first half of this year, it was really important to know what you were all about and to know what you will stand for, what you won't stand for. So if you've done that work, when Mercury goes into Libra, it's going to be hard to shake your convictions and shake your mindset and shake your beliefs. But if you haven't done that work and you haven't made your own mind up, you'll be easily destabilized and led in different directions, and you'll very easily be led by somebody else's agenda. So this is definitely a time to, if you feel like your convictions are faltering, just remember it's a little thing we have to go through for a few weeks. Well, and actually less than a week, because 5 days later Mercury's going to station, and then 2 days after that it's going to retrograde back to Virgo. So this time it's only a few days of it. Later on in in October, Mercury's going to come back to Libra. So, and then we're really going to have to deal with kind of our convictions possibly faltering. But yeah, this time Mercury's not going to make it past 1 degree of Libra. So yeah, that's the deal with the equinox. Okay, September 27th. This is the day that Mercury stations. Stations at 1 degree of Libra, so it can retrograde back into, well, I just saw a hummingbird. It's pretty neat. So it can retrograde back into Virgo. So yeah, this is this Mercury retrograde. What it's going to do is it's going to give us the opportunity to go back and rethink and review everything having to do with Virgo. So health, disease, healing, medicine, medical science, pandemics, you name it. And also for America, for its 10th house, for government. So yeah, this I think is a blessing, because again, before, when that Mercury was direct earlier in the month, when it was in Virgo, that Mercury was at the service of Sun and Mars to pretty much do whatever they want. But Mercury retrograde, it can't really help you do anything new, because it's all about going back, correct the thinking, correct the communication, correct what you've written, so correct what you've said. So I think this is going to this is going to be a little bit of trouble for people in officialdom. Interesting thing is that Mars and Sun, which we'll be getting ready to meet up, they're in Hasta. Hasta, it's one of the nakshatras, one of the lunar mansions, one of the smaller constellations that makes up Virgo. The symbols for Hasta, some people say it's an open hand, some people say it's a fist. The open hand can be used for healing. It can also smack you. And then with the fist, a fist is a symbol of unity, because you can use a fist to punch, and you can basically, if you get a good fist, you create a good structure, and you make those fingers strong so they're not going to break if they hit something. But a fist can also beat you. That fist can be a symbol of basically people coming together. It's kind of like the fasciae, the old Roman symbol of, it's unity, but it's more of it's like a coerced unity. And the whole thing with the fasciae was you can break one stick, you can break one axe handle, but if you bundle those sticks together, it's pretty much impossible to break them. So it's all about strength in numbers. So that is what this establishment, this government establishment, this medical science establishment, they're basically using a strength in numbers mentality. They want us to all do the same thing because it's easier to use the herd mentality against people and everyone else is doing something. They want to bind us together in a fist. They want us to see things their way so that they have more strength. We can also use this. If you don't agree with the official message, you can band together with people who share your point of view. Now, as far as the Mercury retrograde goes, when a retrograde Mercury comes back to Virgo, this Mars and Sun in Hasta that wants to win this argument, win this battle, wants to rule over other people, it can't really use this Mercury retrograde to its favor, because Mercury, when it's in retrograde, it's communicating and it's thinking, but it's going back and reviewing things and correcting things and sort of, correcting its thinking and resetting its viewpoint, resetting its thinking. So, again, because these people have been trying to shame us, intimidate us into getting this experimental medicine in the injectable form, they've been trying to intimidate us, shame us, bribe us with donuts and hamburgers and beer and scholarships and lotteries. Because they've been trying to bribe us and shame us and intimidate us, it means that they haven't been honest, they haven't been giving us the full story and the full picture. So that's why I say time is not on their side, because they're not being totally upfront. So they need to get this done in a hurry. So with Mercury coming back towards Mars and Sun, I think it's going to work against everything that this Virgo, and then for America, this 10th house has to deal with. So again, government, and then the whole scientific establishment, the medical establishment. This Mercury retrograde is going to start putting information and ideas and communications out into the world that undermine those agendas. So they're in a race against time. They're in a race against people waking up to what's going on. So yeah, this Mercury retrograde will not work for them, but Sun and Mars will be coming together in Virgo, in Hasta, with this fist or this open hand. They're going to get more and more aggressive, because Mars is courage and warrior energy and volatility and violence and conquest and dominance. And then Sun can be dominance and rulership and even arrogance. So it's like double fire. So they're going to be getting, the establishment will be getting bolder, but they're not going to have Mercury on their side. So that's a blessing in disguise. And then to end the month, how am I doing on time? 15 minutes, damn. To end the month, September 30th, we will have Mercury at 0 degrees of Libra. 0 is the miracle degree, so planets are at 0 degrees, they're on a cusp of signs. It gives them huge potential energy. Now Libra, is it's the social sign. It's the house of it's the sign of business, all the other people in our lives. And then for America, it's the 11th house. And the original sign of the 11th house is Aquarius, so the sign of humanity. So it's all about humanity, the massive people, big organizations. This, there's a couple of days here where humanity in general can basically exchange this kind of corrected point of view, this corrected thinking and communication that Mercury retrograde brings. And when Mercury's at 0 degrees of Libra, Venus will be at 28 degrees of Libra. So this is potential to bring people together with this, again, corrected thinking, corrected point of view, corrected communication. And then, on the 30th, Sun and Mars are still getting closer, moving to their conjunction, which is going to be pretty important. Those are the big things for that day. So I want to give you a little sneak peek into October and November, because it's kind of the follow-up. I don't want people thinking that this is all going to suck. September will be a little sucky, in different places with lockdowns and restrictions and single and double and triple masks coming back. But in October will be kind of sucky, but it's moving in a better direction. One thing you have going on here is you have two different important conjunctions on October 7th. So the big one on one of the big ones on October 7th is you're going to have Sun and Mars conjunct at 20 degrees in Virgo. So textbook thing about Sun and Mars conjunction in Virgo, when they come together in Virgo, it's always in September or October, because that's when the Sun every year is in Virgo. So when you get Mars and Sun in Virgo, it's around the start of cold and flu season. So this is an indicator that cold and flu season will be kind of rough, will be more aggressive than usual. And so, I think, and what this means is that it's the two fiery planets together in the sign of health, healing, medicine, illness, wellness, sickness. When you get the two fiery planets together, it means that the start of winter, the start of the dark time of the year, the start of cold and flu season will have an aggressive energy to it. So that's why it marks the beginning of cold and flu season. So again, they're coming together in Hasta, this fist. So this fist can mean, some people are going to get pounded by it. It's also for the health and wellness and medicine establishment, medical science establishment. They're using the fist to promote their agenda. And again, it's the 10th house of government for America. They're using the fist. They're trying to bring us all together into one point of view. There's all those aspects to it. But Sun and Mars coming together in Virgo, it means it's going to be a tough cold and flu season. This happened back in 2019. And that was a harbinger, a signal for the coming of the whole COVID endemic. Now, the day that Mars and Sun come together, you have to look for other things in the chart that tell you what this is going to be all about. And then in the following months, you have to keep looking to see what it's going to be all about. So, one thing to look at here, I think one of the big characteristics is you have to look at Scorpio, because you're going to have K2, south node of the moon, and Venus conjunct. So Scorpio, sign of secrets, sudden ups and downs, transformation, sudden illnesses, sudden death, surgeries, sudden losses, sudden gains, all these things having to do with transformation. It also has to do with taboos. It's like, it has a lot to do with sexuality, it has a lot to do with deep emotions. Scorpio is also a sign of, Scorpio deals with warfare because, the scorpion stings you. It's kind of a stealthier sort of a form of warfare, than Aries. So what does this have to do with Sun and Mars coming together in Virgo? I think this tells us something about the nature of what the cold and flu season is going to be all about. So, K2, south node of the moon, it has to do with cutting things away, with losses. It does deal with death, because death is a liberation from the 3D world and you get to go back to the spirit world. So K2 can deal a lot with death. Venus, it's the planet of friendship, social activity, art, beauty. It deals with sensuality, it deals with romance, and it deals with sexuality. This is all in the sign of sexuality. Now these are in the nakshatra of Anuradha, which is part of its constellation, it's part of Scorpio. Now one of the symbols for Anuradha is like the hand of friendship. So to me, when you add all this up, I think this has to do, and I mentioned this in a previous video, I think this has to do with possibly some sort of an STD. I could be completely wrong about this, but I don't know. There's just so much adding up to it. Especially too, Scorpio dealing with sexuality, and then Scorpio is the 12th house for America. 12th house is what they call the house of bed pleasures in Vedic astrology. So bed pleasures can mean sleeping, but it can mean sex too. It can have to do with that. But since you get Scorpio there, it's like, yeah, this is bed pleasures. So I think that this cold and flu season, you're going to have some kind of infection that has to do with transmissibility through bed pleasures. And, with this symbol for this constellation Anuradha, the hand of friendship, when you look at sexual intercourse, when you're thinking about, like, especially as it pertains to penetration, that, whatever it is that you're penetrating, it's kind of like, because it's 2021 and people do different things. But, whatever that orifice is, it's kind of like, it's almost like a hand grasping something. So, when you go right brain with it, that's where the symbolism takes me. Yeah, nice dirt bike. Yeah, when I go right brain with it, that's where the symbolism takes me. So I'm sure you could analyze the hell out of that, and it's Freudian all day long, but it is what it is. That's the way I see it. You can kind of think of like a vagina like a hand, you know what I mean? Because it's got a lot of muscle, it can grasp things, it's got a lot of dexterity. So, yeah, with that helping hand of Anuradha, that's the way I look at that. So yeah, I think there's going to be some kind of transmission going on through bed pleasures, through sexual intercourse. I think because we have an experimental medicine, an injectable experimental medicine, over an hour, experimental injectable medicine that has to do with RNA. It's being injected and it's changing our DNA. And it's creating all these spike proteins. Now, one of the greatest areas where spike proteins concentrate is in our reproductive system, in our reproductive glands, so testes and ovaries. So I think it's possible that genetic changes could be taking place that are affecting people's reproductive systems, and these spike proteins could possibly be transferred from reproductive system to reproductive system. And there could be some sort of an exchange of genetic material that could cause some kind of an infection. You know, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just reading the symbols here. And again, science is playing around with things it doesn't have much experience with. You know, you can't become a good golfer, or you can't become a really good golfer or a really good ballroom dancer or really good anything in the space of a year. So how can you come up with a new technology and a whole new medicine in a year? It just doesn't happen. So the moral to this story is be careful who you couple up with, who you have sex with from here out, because you could get sick from it or you could be altered. So, and that's as much as I'm going to say about that, because I've been in YouTube jail a couple times already. And then we have to look at the next day too. We have to look at October 9th. The Mercury retrograde will conjunct Sun and Mars. They'll all be at 22 degrees of Virgo in Hasta, the fist. And then on that day, Venus and Ketu, Venus in the South Node, will be perfectly conjunct in Anuradha, in Scorpio, with the Moon 1 degree away. So this is really telling me you've got the Moon right on top of this conjunct Venus and Ketu that speaks to this possible whole transmission of disease, which could cause illness and death through bed pleasures, through this welcoming hand. The Moon is right there, a degree away on top of them, looking at that. In Scorpio, sexuality, also sudden losses and gains, sudden death, sudden illness. In the 12th house for America, house of bed pleasures. So the Moon, to me, is really saying, pay attention to this Venus-Ketu conjunction in Scorpio, 12th house if you're an American. And then, 2 houses away in Virgo, you've got Sun, Mercury retrograde, and Mars conjunct. So this is telling me, review your thinking, review your point of view about all these things have to do with Virgo, with the medicines. There's the new experimental medicine with health, disease, healing, all that stuff, and the whole controversy around it. Yeah, you know, and then Mars can really deal with engineering, technology, engineering. So this experimental injectable was genetic engineering, because it's a gene therapy more than anything else. You know, it's not an injection of a dead attenuated virus. It's gene therapy. So this Mercury retrograde is conjunct this Mars, it's conjunct this Sun. So it's saying, go back and take a look at this project of genetic engineering, Mars, that took place, that could be causing this, again, this infection that has to do with bed pleasures, with the welcoming hand, with, you know, the figurative welcoming hand, whatever orifice that is. but I think it's going to be more hetero sex than anything. Yeah. It's like a double whammy, because you get the day that Mars and Sun conjunct, and and they're both moving forward, so they stay conjunct from the 7th to the 9th. So, you've got like, what, 3 days with Mars and Sun staying in conjunction, and Mercury retrograde gets there, and then, again, K2 and Venus up in Scorpio conjunct with the moon right on top of it. So it's like, pay attention to this. Watch who you sleep with. All right. And then October 11th, that retrograde Mercury is going to go back to that 20th degree of Virgo, where Sun and Mars originally met up. So this could bring out some information about this whole cold and flu season, and like what's really going on. What are the real facts? Then we're almost done. November 2nd, Mercury comes out of shadow, because by then it will have stationed and gone direct. So November 2nd, Mercury is going to come back to 1 degree of Libra. And then by this point, you're going to have Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter all direct in Capricorn. So, yeah, it's like basically with Mercury and with Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, it's like the corrections have been made. Now it's time to implement. So I think things are going to start rocking and rolling. More controversy, more aggressiveness from government, from officialdom, but people pushing back more. And then you're going to have the day before Jupiter comes back to Aquarius. That's going to be on the 20th of November. On November 19th, you're going to have a lunar eclipse, 3 degrees of Taurus. So yeah, the Taurus, again, it's the sign of the physical environment, of wealth, of assets. And a big thing here is it is Joe Biden's 7th house. So for that, so let me see something here. Okay. So that is going to be a lunar eclipse right on Joe Biden's ascendant. It's going to be a wait, I'm screwing myself up. It's not on his ascendant, it's his 7th house, so it's opposite his ascendant. You're gonna have that going on in his 7th house. So I think this is a day where he could lose a lot of friends. You could find out things about what he's been doing in politics, what he's done, deals that he's made, because 7th house is business. But an interesting thing too is on that day you're going to have the sun is going to be conjunct his natal sun, and you're going to have the natal K2 right between his sun and his ascendant degree. So yeah, this could be, it's almost like he's being eclipsed in a way. It's like the transiting K2 is starting to eclipse his natal sun, his natal Venus, and his ascendant. So with the transiting sun there. So yeah, it's like he's going to be eclipsed, but then also like his friendships are going to be eclipsed. So anybody who was inaugurated on January 20th, 2020 was going to have a presidency marked by scandal ahead of them, no matter who it was. So this could be a big scandal day for him. This could be a day where something happens with his health too. So the administration is going to have some sort of a hiccup, and its agendas and its initiatives are going to lose steam. So this is going to give the people some breathing room. And then with Jupiter the next day, and I'll get into all this stuff, more specifics later. November 20th, Jupiter comes back to Aquarius. This is the sign, Aquarius, of humanity, of we the people. For America, it's the third house of media, communications. So Jupiter's coming back, and it's going to come back. It's going to go back towards America's natal moon, which is 7 degrees of Aquarius, and it's going to bring the truth back with it. So for the third time, it's going to transit across America's natal moon. So yeah, I think Jupiter is going to bring new truth and new information with it to help us. So, you know, to wrap this all up, September could seem like a sucky month, and it's going to seem like the winter and the rest of the year is going to suck. It could feel like this in October, but something's going to happen in November where we get some breathing room. So I'm going to wrap it up there. That was good and long. Not my longest, but it's a long one. Thanks for tuning in. If you have not gotten a Vedic astrology reading from me already, I highly recommend it. I don't do astrology for entertainment. I do astrology as an empowerment tool. So what it does is it helps you to get some confirmation on things that you felt were true about yourself, but you may have not had absolute confidence in. It gives you confirmation. It helps you to also see natural hidden talents in your life, hidden opportunities, and even hidden pitfalls. I do also rune readings. It's a great way to make a mind map and see where things are blocked in your psyche. And I've got some videos on sale for download, Qigong videos. Qigong is a great mind-body practice to boost your immune system, your blood flow, help you breathe better, and just boost your overall health, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So thanks again, and I'll see you later. Have a good one.